All right, we are down to 4 teams. The Washington Commanders will be taking on the Philadelphia Eagles for the right to represent the NFC in the Super Bowl, and the Buffalo Bills will be taking on the Kansas City Chiefs for the right to represent the AFC in the Super Bowl. Today's prediction day. You guys know the deal. If you're new to the channel and you love the NFL, be sure to hit that subscribe button. Let's hop right into today's video. All right, so let's start with the NFC Championship game that sees the Washington Commanders traveling to Philadelphia to take on the Eagles. The Commanders are currently 6-point underdogs to the Philadelphia Eagles. These two teams, of course, both from the NFC East. Very interesting. The NFC North was the best division by far all season. 0-3 in the playoffs, and in the NFC, we have two NFC East teams squaring off for the right to go to the Super Bowl. These two split the season series 1 game apiece. However, there are some caveats on both sides. For the Commanders' loss to the Eagles, it happened a lot earlier on in the season, while the team was still figuring out who they were as a whole. 67% of the roster brand new, obviously going into the year. New coaching staff, rookie quarterback, had some things to work out. And for, of course, the more recent loss, Jalen Hurts was concussed early on in this game when the Eagles were on pace to go up 2 scores with Jalen Hurts in at quarterback, and then Washington battled back and won 36-33. But that being said, I do still think there are lessons to take away from these games. Obviously, Saquon Barkley was the main reason the Eagles won the first time these two teams played. 26 carries for 146 yards and 2 touchdowns. In the second game, Jayden Daniels seemed to have a much better time with the Eagles defense as a whole, especially the secondary. The guy threw for 5 touchdowns in the game, obviously led his team to 36 points. And regardless of if Jalen Hurts was out there or not, that matchup of Jayden being able to kind of decipher the Eagles defense is still something to take note of as we go forward. Now, offensively, these two teams are pretty close in terms of total production, but it is coming in different ways. The Eagles are very much a run-first offense, whereas the Commanders are a little bit more split, but I would say that they lean more on their quarterback in Jayden Daniels, while the Eagles lean more on their running back in Saquon Barkley. This can lead to both of these teams having very lengthy offensive drives, controlling time of possession, but both teams are still having the ability to hit the big play. For the Eagles, whether it's Saquon bursting a long run or A.J. Brown or Devonta Smith with a big catch. For the Commanders, we've seen Hail Marys, long touchdowns to Terry McLaurin, big plays from Jayden Daniels. So both offenses really, really good, definitively in the top 10 in the NFL this season. Defensively, the Eagles have been the much better team. And when you look at stats, the Eagles really have been the best statistical defense in the NFL all season. Least amount of yards allowed, second least amount of points per game. The Eagles have been playing on another level all year under this Vic Fangio defense, whereas the Commanders' pass defense has been decent, but the run defense is a real concern. And that leads me to my first thing that I really look forward to how this is going to determine the game. And this is kind of a narrative that you could say for all Eagles games, but can the Washington Commanders actually stop Saquon Barkley? Or even not stop, but slow down? In 2 games this year versus Washington, Saquon has had 296 total yards and 4 touchdowns. And like I mentioned, Washington's run defense, not great. In fact, it's pretty bad. They rank 30th in the NFL against the run this year. That being said, the Eagles have the best running back in football, at least a guy who's played like the best running back in football this year. A running back who's in MVP conversations against a really bad run defense. The Philly offense is going to lean on the run. The question is not, can the Commanders actually stop Saquon, but how much can they slow it down? Can you stack the box? And if you choose to take that strategy, can Jalen Hurts and these receivers make you pay for it? That is something we could find out. And can Philly slow down Jayden Daniels? Because Jayden Daniels has been absolutely electric. Obviously, he's coming off of a Rookie of the Year campaign. But what he has done in 2 postseason games has perhaps amplified him to the greatest rookie quarterback season ever. You could argue Big Ben, obviously going to the Super Bowl in his rookie year. But Jayden Daniels, I think, has had more of a part in his team's success. And he's in the NFC Conference Championship game after his team just had the number 2 overall pick. Like, talk about a turnaround that he has done for the Commanders. I've mentioned it before, when I watch him play, it's like watching an elite point guard play. He just seems to control the game. Versus Philly this year, a 6-3 touchdown to interception ratio. 3-1 is usually what I would consider elite. 2-1, it's okay, it's passable. The thing with Jaden is he's going to have to limit the turnovers. And he did that versus Detroit masterfully. But you look at these NFL games, especially these playoff games, turnovers have played a huge role. 3 interceptions in 2 games isn't great, but Jaden really, again, figured out the Eagles in the second half of that last game that they played. And I just wonder how much of that really carries over. Now, I haven't done this in the previous games, but we're dealing with 2 games here, so I want to bring up some X factors. For the Commanders, I think Austin Ekeler is going to perhaps play a huge role in this game. The first time they played the Eagles, he had 8 catches for 89 yards. Philly was very clearly willing to leave the underneath stuff open the first time they played Washington. That led to Ekeler getting 8 catches. In the second game, Ekeler was injured and didn't play. How much of a factor will he be in this game? And for the Eagles, it's Quinyon Mitchell. Is he 100%? Is he going to play? I'm not sure on both of those as of recording. I think he's going to play, but how good's he going to be? We know when he's out there, he has been a shutdown corner. But you saw the second he left that divisional round game versus the Rams, Matt Stafford started targeting Isaiah Rodgers and targeting that side of the field. Normally, Q shuts down an entire side of the field. Can he come back? And if so, can he do that versus the Washington Commanders? Now, my prediction for this game, I think overwhelming talent that Philly has is going to win out. Detroit, they had more talent, but they didn't have the defense. Philly has the defense. They have the statistical best defense in football, and Saquon Barkley has been unstoppable all year, but he's been unstoppable for Washington. And I don't see the personnel just completely flipping the script and being able to stop Saquon this time around unless you really stack the box. But then again, Philly has guys like Devonta Smith and A.J. Brown that can make you pay for that. Ultimately, the talent of the Eagles wins out. A hell of a year for Washington, but I have Philly advancing to the Super Bowl with a 31-21 victory in this game. And then the game that everybody is really waiting for, the AFC Championship, which will see the Buffalo Bills traveling to Kansas City to take on the Chiefs, who are now a 2-point favorite as of recording. These 2 teams did face off earlier this year, and Buffalo did pick up the win in Week 11 by a score of 30-21. Now, we know from past history that Buffalo has beaten Kansas City in the regular season, only for the Chiefs to take them out in the playoffs before. So there's only so much stock you can put in the actual outcome of the game. But I still do think there are lessons to be taken away from this. Kansas City did a very good job against Buffalo's rushing attack, holding James Cook to 9 carries for 20 yards in their previous contest. They forced Josh Allen to be the main runner on that team. What has made Buffalo so dangerous this year is the fact that their offense has truly been 2-dimensional and not so Josh Allen dependent. In the game in Week 11 versus Kansas City, it was Josh Allen dependent. He still pulled it off because he's Josh fucking Allen, but that happened. He had to be their main runner. And can Buffalo's defense once again force Mahomes into turnovers? In that game, Mahomes threw 2 interceptions that weren't that great of a look for him. In the postseason, we know Patrick takes it to another level, but can Buffalo and Sean McDermott show Mahomes enough looks to confuse him and win the turnover battle? Again, I talked about this in the Eagles-Commanders game, but turnovers have been so huge these playoffs. Every single team that has won the turnover battle has won the game. Now, some of them have been tied in turnover battles. I believe it's 5 games so far this postseason where there's been a turnover battle differential winner. All 5 of those teams won the game outright. Can the Bills defense force Mahomes into turnovers and mistakes like they did in Week 11? Now, when it comes to comparing season stats, the Buffalo Bills were no doubt the better offense. They averaged about 10 more points per game than Kansas City this regular season. So not only were they getting more yards, but they were way more efficient of an offense. That's why many people are clamoring that Josh Allen should be the MVP, because he had this offense balling at a very, very efficient elite level without any other Pro Bowlers on the offense. Buffalo was absolutely 100% the better offense this year. But Kansas City, on the other hand, was absolutely 100% the better defense this year, whether it's passing, rushing, total, points per game, points allowed per game, you name it. the Kansas City Chiefs defense was flatly better than the Bills this year. And we just watched this defense have a really good game versus Houston, whether it's Chris Jones and Karlaftis applying pressure or McDuffie with the pass breakups, Justin Reed in coverage. This team is loaded. Spagnuolo always calls great postseason games. What will this Chiefs defense be able to do in another matchup with Buffalo to really get that offense off of rhythm? That's the big matchup. And obviously, you don't want to dispel what Mahomes is when he's on the field. But how effective can Buffalo be against the Chiefs defense? Because the Chiefs, truthfully, their better unit is their defense. Despite their offense having, a Hall of Fame play caller head coach Andy Reid, Hall of Fame Patrick Mahomes, Hall of Fame Travis Kelce, the defense has been the strength of this team. It's the kind of game you wait for all season as a football fan. Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes, Bills, Chiefs, trip to a Super Bowl on the line. Who is going to be the X factors? For the Bills, Khalil Shakir. Khalil Shakir has been no doubt the wide receiver one this year. He was the wide receiver one when they played the Chiefs in week 11. 8 for 70 in that game. He's been the wide receiver one for this team throughout the playoffs. McDuffie likely not going to be on him because he is a slot guy and he'll probably be covering Keon Coleman and Amari Cooper. Can Khalil Shakir find gaps in this Chiefs defense to pick up big yardage plays? Could he have a big play? Can he pick them apart as they nickel and dime them down the field? How effective can Shakir be? And for the Chiefs, I think it's Xavier Worthy. Xavier Worthy is the kind of guy who could really bust open a game at any time with a 90-yard touchdown, a 10-yard explosive touchdown. You can use him in such a variety of ways as the Chiefs have in the rushing game, in the passing game. I'm very interested to see what Worthy does in this game as he has kind of become Patrick Mahomes' de facto wide receiver one with Rashee Rice injured. Obviously, Travis Kelce does what Travis Kelce does in the playoffs. Like I said, which team can limit turnovers and which team can get the big plays? I do have one slight worry for Buffalo. When they were up on Baltimore, they seemed to take their foot a little bit off the gas. And if you give Patrick Mahomes and this Chiefs team any opportunity to beat you, they will take advantage of that. That could have just been the Bills feeling comfortable at home against Baltimore and watching Lamar struggle. I don't know fully went into it, but that is some concern. When it comes to my prediction, this is the hardest pick I have had to make all playoffs. I thought last week when I was picking between Baltimore and Buffalo, that was going to be the toughest. This is even harder. I have gone back and forth on this, and I think some of it is because I do have a rooting interest in the Bills. My dad's a Bills fan. I want to see them win, so I'll be cheering them on, and maybe this pick is just an emotional hedge, but I'm taking Kansas City to win 28-27 in a big spot after what I've seen for the last 2 years. In Arrowhead, how could I pick against Patrick Mahomes and this Chiefs team who have constantly owned Josh Allen and the Bills in the playoffs? Patrick Mahomes is 3-0 against Josh Allen in the playoffs. It's one of those I got to see it to believe it, and I'm hopeful, and I'm rooting to see it. And I think this is the best shot the Bills have had to beat the Chiefs, but at the end of the day, I just can't go against Mahomes, Reed, and Kelce and Spags in a big spot, which would set up a Chiefs-Eagles Super Bowl rematch from 2 years ago. But as always, guys, these are just my predictions. Be sure to drop yours in the comment section down below. Who do you think will be playing in the Super Bowl? As well, let me know, who do you want to see playing in the Super Bowl? We are almost at the end of the NFL season. It feels like it has flown by. Let me know in the comment section what kind of off-season content you guys want to see from me. I appreciate your support. Make sure you hit that like button. I'll catch you next time. Peace.